The hallway of Jefferson High School was always loud and busy. Students laughed, lockers slammed, and sneakers squeaked on the floor. But in the middle of all that noise, one boy moved quietly: Ethan Walker. Ethan was 16, skinny, and shy. He always carried more books than anyone else. His clothes were clean but old. His sneakers had small holes in them. While others talked about weekend parties or football games, Ethan kept his eyes down and walked fast, hoping no one would notice him. But they always did. At the far end of the hallway stood Ryan, Jake, and Cole, the school's most popular boys. Big, confident, and cruel. Ryan smirked when he saw Ethan walking by. "Hey, book boy," he shouted. Before Ethan could react, Ryan slapped the books out of his hands. The heavy textbooks hit the floor with a loud thud, papers flying everywhere. Jake laughed. "Careful, man. You'll make him cry again." Everyone around saw what happened, but no one helped. Some laughed quietly. Others looked away. Ethan knelt down, picking up his papers one by one. His hands shook, but he didn't say a word. Inside, he was burning a mix of anger, pain, and humiliation. Ryan leaned closer and whispered, "Face it, Walker. You'll never be anything. You're just a loser." The bell rang, and the bullies walked away, still laughing. Ethan stayed on the floor a little longer, pretending to tie his shoe so no one could see the tears in his eyes. That day, lunch felt longer than ever. Ethan sat alone at the last table, eating quietly. His lunchbox was small, just a sandwich and an apple. He could hear the others talking, laughing, living a life he could only dream about. He looked at his hands, rough from part-time work after school. Every evening, he delivered newspapers to help his mom pay the bills. His father had left when he was 10. His mother worked 2 jobs: a waitress during the day, a cleaner at night. They didn't have much, but she always told him, "Ethan, we may not have money, but we have dreams. Never stop dreaming." That night, after work, Ethan came home tired. The house was small, with peeling paint and old furniture, but it was home. He went to his tiny room, dropped his school bag, and looked in the mirror. A bruise from Ryan's shove had darkened his cheek. He touched it, then looked deeper into his reflection. Softly, he said, "Someday, I'll be the one they respect." He sat down at his old desk, just a piece of wood supported by 2 crates. His laptop was second-hand, the screen slightly cracked. But to him, it was a window to the world. He opened YouTube and searched, "How to start a business with no money." Dozens of videos popped up, people talking about ideas, startups, and success stories. He watched one video about a man who started a company in his garage. Ethan's eyes lit up. If others could do it, maybe he could too. He started reading about technology, coding, and online businesses. Hours passed. Midnight came and went, but he didn't stop. He wrote ideas in a small notebook app for students, online learning, study help for teens. His handwriting was messy, but his ideas were big. Outside, the world slept. Inside, a new fire began to grow in Ethan's heart. The next day at school, Ryan noticed Ethan writing something during break. He walked over, grabbed the notebook, and read the words out loud. "Study Connect? What's this, your nerd club?" Jake laughed again. "Yeah, man, no one's gonna use your dumb app." They tore one of the pages and threw it in the trash. Ethan said nothing. He just walked over, picked up the page, and put it back in his notebook. But deep inside, something had changed. Their laughter no longer hurt the same way. It fueled him. That night, he searched online again. He read about teenagers who started businesses. Some sold small things, some made apps. He realized he didn't need to be rich to start, he just needed an idea, and the courage to keep going. A few weeks later, Ethan began fixing computers for people in his neighborhood to earn extra money. He used every dollar to upgrade his laptop and buy software tools. He didn't go out with friends, he didn't have any. Instead, he spent every evening learning, failing, and trying again. His mother worried. "Ethan, you need rest," she said. He smiled softly. "One day, Mom, you'll never have to work again." She didn't fully understand what he was doing, but she saw the determination in his eyes. So she just nodded and said, "Then promise me one thing, never become like those who hurt you." Ethan promised. Weeks turned into months. He grew quieter at school, but more confident at home. His mind was full of plans, ideas, dreams no one could see but him. And then, one rainy evening, something happened. While working on his computer, a pop-up appeared on his screen: a competition for young entrepreneurs. Submit your business idea and win mentorship from top CEOs. Ethan stared at the screen for a long time. His heart beat faster. This was it, his chance. He clicked the apply button and started writing his idea. An app that connects students to help each other study, share notes, and grow together. When he finally pressed submit, he whispered, "This is where everything changes." Outside, thunder rolled. Rain hit the window like applause from the universe. Ethan didn't know it yet, but that night was the beginning of something much bigger than his pain. Because soon, the world would know the name Ethan Walker. Days passed after Ethan submitted his idea to the competition. He tried not to think about it too much, but deep down, he was hoping maybe, just maybe, someone would see the potential in his dream. Every evening, after finishing his paper route, he'd check his email, staring at the empty inbox. Nothing. Still, he didn't stop working. He kept improving his app idea. He named it Study Connect, a simple app that allowed students to share notes, form study groups, and ask for help. At school, his life hadn't changed much. Ryan and Jake still laughed at him in the hallways. But Ethan no longer reacted. When they called him names, he just smiled and said, "Thanks for the motivation." They didn't understand what he meant, but it made them angry. And for Ethan, that felt like a small victory. One Friday afternoon, something unexpected happened. Ethan got home, opened his laptop, and saw a new email. The subject line read, "Congratulations, Ethan Walker, you're in the top 10. He froze. Then read it again to be sure. Out of hundreds of students across the country, his idea was selected. His heart raced as he called his mother, shouting, "Mom! They picked me. My app, they actually picked it." His mother hugged him, tears in her eyes. "I told you, Ethan. Dreams don't work unless you do." For the next few weeks, Ethan attended online workshops and mentoring sessions. He learned how to pitch his ideas, talk to investors, and build a team. He was shy at first, but every time he spoke about Study Connect, people listened. His passion made him sound confident, even powerful. One of the mentors, Mr. Harris, a retired businessman, noticed Ethan's drive. After a session, he said, "Ethan, you remind me of myself when I was your age. Don't let their laughter stop you. Every great idea sounds crazy at first." Those words stuck in Ethan's mind. Every night, when he felt tired or unsure, he remembered them. He started learning coding through free online tutorials. He spent hours writing lines of code, testing, and fixing errors. Sometimes, his app crashed completely, and he'd feel hopeless. But each time, he'd take a deep breath and start again. Weeks turned into months. Study Connect slowly came to life, one screen at a time. Students could now sign up, make profiles, and connect with others from their school. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Ethan decided to test it at Jefferson High. He made small posters and quietly put them up near the library and classrooms. At first, only a few students joined. But then, something surprising happened. People started talking about it. "Hey, have you tried that Study Connect thing? It's actually cool. It helps with homework." Within a month, more than 200 students were using it. Even teachers noticed the difference. Grades were improving. Students were helping each other more. And Ethan, he finally smiled again. But not everyone was happy. When Ryan saw people talking about the app, he got curious. One afternoon, he asked a friend, "Who made that?" When he heard the answer, his face changed. "Ethan Walker? That loser." He couldn't believe it. The same boy they used to bully now had something everyone liked. That night, Ryan and Jake scrolled through social media and there it was. A small news post: local teen creates study app helping hundreds of students. Beneath it was Ethan's photo, smiling, confident, holding his laptop. Ryan laughed nervously. "Guess he got lucky," he said. But deep inside, he felt something he had never felt before: shame. Meanwhile, Ethan kept improving the app. He added chat features, study reminders, and small achievements for students. He didn't care about fame or money. He just wanted to build something that made a difference. But life had another surprise waiting. One evening, while working in his room, Ethan's computer pinged another email. This one wasn't from a contest. It was from a venture investor in California. Subject: interested in discussing your app Study Connect. His heart skipped a beat. He clicked it open and read: "Hi Ethan, I came across your app online. I think it has great potential. Let's schedule a meeting next week." Ethan could hardly believe what he was seeing. He jumped from his chair, pacing the small room. Was this real? Could this be the moment he'd been waiting for? He ran to tell his mom. She gasped when she heard the news, then hugged him tight. "This is just the beginning, Ethan. Remember where you started?" That night, Ethan didn't sleep. He stayed up preparing slides for the investor meeting. He practiced speaking in front of the mirror, over and over again. Every stumble, every nervous pause, he fixed it. On the day of the meeting, he wore his best shirt, the same one he used for school presentations. He logged into the video call, hands shaking slightly. The investor, a middle-aged man named Mark Thompson, smiled and said, "Ethan, I've seen hundreds of pitches. Yours feels special. Tell me more about why you built this." Ethan took a deep breath. "Sir, I made it because I know what it feels like to struggle alone. I wanted students like me to help each other to feel less alone." Mark nodded slowly, impressed. "That's a great reason to build something. Keep your heart in it, and success will follow." When the call ended, Ethan sat back in silence. He looked around his small room: the cracked laptop, the worn-out desk, the walls covered with sticky notes. A single tear rolled down his cheek, not from sadness, but pride. He whispered, "I'm not done yet." Because deep down, he knew this was only the start of his rise. And the world was just beginning to notice Ethan Walker. 2 years passed since that video call with the investor. Ethan Walker was no longer the quiet boy sitting alone at the back of the class. He was now a young man, focused, confident, and driven. He graduated high school with top grades, turned down several college offers, and made a bold choice. He decided to work full-time on Study Connect. His mom was nervous at first, but she trusted him. She had seen how far he had come from a bullied kid to someone people now respected. Ethan spent every day improving the app. He rented a small, dusty office above a bakery in downtown Dallas. The rent was cheap, but to him, it felt like a skyscraper. He bought a used desk, 2 chairs, and a coffee machine. That tiny space became the birthplace of his dream. The investor, Mark Thompson, believed in Ethan's vision. He gave him a small fund to hire a few developers. Within months, Ethan built a small team, just 5 people, all young, all hungry to create something big. They worked long hours, often eating pizza at midnight, laughing, learning, failing, and starting again. Study Connect grew fast. More schools started using it. Students from other states downloaded the app and sent messages like, "Your app helped me pass my exams. Thank you for making studying fun again." Every message gave Ethan more energy to keep going. He didn't care about money, he cared about meaning. He wanted to make life easier for every student who had ever felt alone. Then, one morning, while scrolling through the app's statistics, Ethan saw something that made his jaw drop. 100,000 users. He couldn't believe it. He stared at the number for a long time, smiling. He whispered, "We did it." But success brought new challenges. Servers crashed, bugs appeared, and managing people wasn't easy. Ethan was young, but he learned quickly. He read books on leadership, watched business talks online, and asked mentors for advice. When something broke, he didn't blame his team, he joined them in fixing it. Slowly, people began calling him the youngest CEO in the city. His story spread across local news stations. Reporters came to interview him. They asked, "What made you start this journey?" And Ethan always answered simply, "Pain. Pain taught me to build something that heals." His old classmates saw his face on TV. Some congratulated him. Some couldn't believe it. But Ryan and Jake, the bullies, felt something else. They felt regret. After high school, Ryan had tried a few jobs but couldn't keep any. Jake was working part-time at a delivery service. They often talked about the old days, laughing bitterly about how simple life used to be. Until one day, Ryan scrolled through LinkedIn and saw a post. "Walker Tech is hiring, join our growing team." He froze. Walker Tech. That name sounded familiar. He clicked the link and saw Ethan's photo at the top, smiling, wearing a dark blue suit. CEO and founder, Ethan Walker. Jake leaned over his shoulder. "Wait, that's him? That's the kid we..." Ryan interrupted, his voice low. "Yeah. That's him." They didn't speak for a moment. Then Jake sighed. "Man, life's crazy. He made it big." Ryan nodded slowly. "Maybe we should apply. I mean, a job's a job." The irony was sharp. The same guys who once called Ethan a loser were now about to apply for jobs at his company. Meanwhile, Ethan had no idea who was sending in resumes. His HR team handled most applications. He was busy preparing for something much bigger, a partnership meeting with investors from California. A few weeks later, Ethan flew to San Francisco to meet Vision Tech Ventures, one of the biggest investment groups in the country. He walked into the glass building, his heart racing but his steps steady. He wasn't that nervous kid anymore. He was a CEO now, calm, focused, and prepared. Inside the boardroom, he presented his plan for the future of Study Connect, a global platform for students to learn, share, and grow together. When he finished, the lead investor smiled. "Ethan, we like your vision. We want to invest $2 million into your company." The room filled with applause. Ethan felt like the world had stopped for a moment. He shook hands with the investors, his voice steady but full of emotion. "Thank you. I promise I won't let you down." When he walked out of the building, he looked up at the sky. The same sky he once stared at from his small bedroom window. He smiled and whispered, "We're just getting started." News spread fast. Teen CEO from Texas raises $2 million for education app. People everywhere shared his story online. Ethan Walker became a symbol of hope, a reminder that pain could turn into power. But fate had one more surprise waiting. Back at Walker Tech headquarters, his HR manager walked into his office holding 2 folders. "Sir, we've got a few strong candidates for the new project management roles," she said, placing the files on his desk. Ethan flipped open the first folder. Ryan Carter. Then the second. Jake Miller. For a moment, his smile faded. His eyes narrowed slightly. Memories of school, laughter, and pain flashed through his mind. The Bullies. He leaned back in his chair, silent for a few seconds. Then a small smile returned to his face, calm, confident, but unreadable. "Schedule the interviews," he said softly. "I want to meet them myself." And just like that, the boy they once bullied was about to become the man sitting across the table. Their potential boss. The story was about to come full circle. Because destiny, it seemed, had a way of making people face the lessons they once ignored. The next morning, Ethan arrived early at the office. The city skyline glowed gold in the sunrise, and the air felt different, heavier, meaningful. Today wasn't just another workday. Today, he was going to meet them. He sat at his desk, going over the resumes again. Ryan Carter. Jake Miller. Same names. Same faces. The bullies who once made him feel small now wanted a job in his company. He leaned back in his chair, quietly thinking. Years ago, those names made his stomach twist with fear. Now, they didn't scare him, they reminded him how far he had come. When the clock struck 10, his assistant walked in. "Sir, your first candidate is here." Ryan Carter. Ethan nodded. "Send him in." The office door opened. Ryan stepped in, holding a folder, his smile nervous but polite. He looked older, tired. Life had clearly been harder than he expected. He froze when he saw who was sitting across the table. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Ryan's confident smile faded. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Ethan stood, straightened his jacket, and said calmly, "Good morning, Ryan. Please, have a seat." Ryan slowly sat down, his eyes wide. "Ethan. I didn't know you were the CEO here." Ethan smiled faintly. "Most people didn't. Life's full of surprises, isn't it?" The air in the room felt thick. Ryan cleared his throat, trying to act normal. "Yeah. I guess it is." Ethan opened the resume and started reading, his tone professional. "So, you worked at a logistics company for 2 years, then switched to marketing." "Yes, sir," Ryan replied quickly, trying to stay composed. "And what made you apply here at Walker Tech?" Ethan asked, looking directly at him. Ryan hesitated. "Well, I've heard great things about your company. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to grow." Ethan leaned forward slightly, his voice soft but firm. "You've changed a lot since high school, haven't you?" Ryan's face turned red. He looked down at his hands. "Yeah. I have. I was stupid back then, Ethan. I made fun of you. I said things I shouldn't have. I'm sorry." Ethan studied him quietly for a few seconds. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Then Ethan spoke again, calm, controlled, and sincere. "You know, Ryan, I used to think I'd never forgive you. But then I realized something: holding anger doesn't make you stronger. It only keeps you stuck." Ryan looked up, surprised. Ethan continued. "You taught me something important, that the only way to rise above hate is to outgrow it. So yes, I forgive you." Ryan's eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "Thank you, man. You don't know how much that means." Ethan nodded, smiled softly, and said, "Let's see how you do in the rest of the interview." They talked for another 20 minutes about teamwork, goals, and skills. When Ryan left, he looked back one last time and said quietly, "You turned out better than all of us, Ethan. I'm proud of you." A few hours later, The next candidate arrived. Jake Miller. Jake walked in, confident at first until he saw Ethan. His smile disappeared instantly. "Ethan Walker," he said, voice trembling. "That's right," Ethan replied. "Good to see you again, Jake. Please, sit down." Jake sat, but he couldn't look Ethan in the eyes. "Look, man," he said, "I know I was a jerk. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need a job." Ethan folded his hands together. "Jake, do you remember what you said to me in the hallway back then?" Jake swallowed hard. "Yeah. I said, no one would ever respect you." Ethan nodded slowly. "And now?" Jake took a deep breath. "Now? I respect you more than anyone." Ethan didn't smile, but his voice softened. "Life has a way of teaching lessons, Jake. Sometimes it humbles us so we can grow." There was a long pause. Then Ethan said, "You know what's funny? Back then, I used to dream of this moment to get revenge, to make you feel small. But now that you're here, I don't feel anger. I just feel grateful. Because you made me stronger." Jake's eyes lowered. He whispered, "I'm sorry, Ethan. For everything." Ethan stood up and extended his hand. "Apology accepted." Jake shook it, clearly emotional. After he left, Ethan sat back in his chair, staring at the city through his office window. The past felt distant, like an old scar that no longer hurt. He remembered his mother's words. "Never become like those who hurt you." He smiled softly. He hadn't. Later that evening, his HR manager entered the office. "Sir, do you want us to move forward with either of them?" Ethan looked thoughtful for a moment, then said, "Yes. Hire them both." The manager blinked, surprised. "Both? Are you sure?" Ethan nodded. "Everyone deserves a second chance. Besides, I'd rather lead with kindness than ego." The next week, Ryan and Jake officially joined Walker Tech. They were nervous the first few days, but Ethan treated them like any other employees, fairly, respectfully, and professionally. He never brought up the past again. Slowly, they began to see the kind of man Ethan had become: patient, disciplined, humble. They couldn't help but admire him. One afternoon, Ryan stopped by his office and said quietly, "Ethan, I don't just work for you. I learn from you every day. Thank you for giving me a chance." Ethan smiled. "Just make it worth it." And that moment marked something bigger than forgiveness. It was transformation. The bullied kid had become a leader. And the bullies had become his students in life. As the sun set over the city that evening, Ethan stood by his office window, looking out at the skyline. He felt calm, not proud, not angry, just peaceful. He whispered, "This is what winning really looks like." Months passed since Ryan and Jake joined Walker Tech. At first, they worked quietly, avoiding attention. They were careful around Ethan, always respectful, always on time. They didn't want to disappoint him, not after everything that had happened. And Ethan? He treated them just like everyone else. No special favors. No reminders of the past. Just fairness and professionalism. The company was growing fast. Study Connect had crossed over 2 million users worldwide. Schools in Canada, the UK, and even Asia were starting to use it. Ethan was invited to tech conferences and business panels. People called him the teen CEO who changed education. But to Ethan, the real success wasn't the fame, it was the people. He often walked through the office, watching his team laugh, code, and share ideas. That, he thought, was the true meaning of victory, creating something that helped others grow. One Friday afternoon, the team gathered for a company meeting. The office buzzed with energy. The smell of coffee, laughter, and new beginnings filled the air. Ethan stood at the front, ready to share some news. Everyone, he began with a smile, I want to thank you all. We've just hit a major milestone. Study Connect has been downloaded 5 million times. Cheers erupted across the room. People clapped, shouted, hugged each other. Even Ryan and Jake smiled proudly, looking around at what they were now a part of. Ethan continued. When I started this journey, I was just a scared kid with a dream. I didn't have money, I didn't have support, I just had a reason. I wanted to make a difference. And today, we all did. His voice grew softer, more emotional. Never let your past decide your future. If someone doubts you, let that doubt become your fire. Build something so strong that even your pain will clap for you one day. The room fell silent. Then applause filled the space, long and heartfelt. After the meeting, Ryan and Jake stayed behind. They walked up to Ethan, nervous but determined. Ryan spoke first, his voice sincere. Ethan, I want you to know. I'll never forget what you did for us. You didn't have to hire me. You didn't have to forgive me. But you did. And because of that, my life changed. Jake nodded. You gave us a second chance, man. I was lost before this job. Now I feel like I'm building something that matters. Ethan smiled softly. That's what this company is about. Not revenge. Not ego. Growth. We all deserve a chance to grow. Ryan looked down for a moment, then asked quietly. Do you ever wish things were different? Like, that we hadn't treated you that way? Ethan thought for a moment before replying. Honestly? No. Because if you hadn't, maybe I wouldn't be standing here today. Pain taught me what comfort never could. There was silence again, not awkward, but deep. It was the silence of understanding. The three of them stood there, not as enemies, not even as old classmates, but as people who had learned from life in their own ways. Years later, Walker Tech became one of the top education companies in the United States. Ethan was now on magazine covers, giving talks around the world, inspiring millions. But he never forgot where he started. He still lived simply. He still visited his old high school every year to give motivational talks. One afternoon, he stood in the same hallway where he used to be bullied. The lockers were newer, the paint fresher, but he could still feel the ghost of that scared boy walking alone with his books. He smiled. You made it, he whispered to his younger self. Students passing by recognized him. Hey, aren't you Ethan Walker? The app guy. He laughed softly and said. Yeah. But more importantly, I'm proof that you can rise no matter how low you start. Later, he visited his old classroom to meet the students. He told them about failure, hard work, and forgiveness. If people laugh at your dreams, don't stop. If they doubt you, let it push you forward. You don't need to fight back, your success will speak for you. When the talk ended, the whole class stood and clapped. Some had tears in their eyes. Ethan smiled, feeling peace in his heart. As he left the school, his phone buzzed a message from Ryan. It read. Thanks for believing in me. Just got promoted to team leader. Couldn't have done it without you. Ethan smiled and replied. You earned it? He put his phone away and looked up at the sunset. The same sky that once watched him struggle now watched him succeed. That night, as he sat in his office, the city lights twinkling outside, he thought about everything: the pain, the laughter, the tears, the journey. He realized something powerful. Success isn't just about winning. It's about healing. He whispered softly, almost to himself. Revenge fades. Forgiveness lasts forever. Then, looking out over the skyline, he smiled, calm, grateful, and proud. Because the bullied boy named Ethan Walker had done more than become a CEO. He had become an example of what true strength looks like. Headphone final voiceover message, for your video ending. Sometimes, life breaks you so it can rebuild you stronger. Don't waste your energy hating those who hurt you, use it to build your future. Because one day, the same people who laughed at your struggle, will respect your success. The end.